Just a second. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome to the GUJCO sponsored webinar series on opportunities in chemistry and biological sciences for indigenization in India. This is a collection of 6 webinars which involves converting our scientific ideas into independent startup organizations. There are tiny steps which ultimately can lead to a self-reliant India. Today we are in the 5th lecture in the 6th lecture series. In this series, today we are very lucky to have our distinguished speaker, Dr. Rakeshwar Bandichor, Head, Chemistry API, Process R&D at Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Sir has kindly agreed to address Indrashil University students on the topic Synthetic Strategies for APIs. We will have his detailed introduction later, but first let me introduce the panelists and explain the rules of the webinar. In the panel, as the panelists, we have Dr. J.S. Yadav, our Provost and Research Director. Sir has not joined yet, but he will be coming anytime. Dean SOS, Dr. Bharti Ma'am. Dean SOE, Dr. Amish Vyas Sir. Mr. Abhinand Pandya Sir, who is Manager, Strategic Committee, Indrashil University. Dr. Haren Gosai Sir, Dr. J. Prakasha Reddy, and Dr. Nidhi Gaur Madam, the coordinator of the GUJCO webinar series. So right now, we will start with the introduction of Indrashil University to those like some of you might not know about our university, and for you and for the speaker, we will start with the brief account of Indrashil University. Dr. Bharati Dabe ma'am will do the honor. Ma'am, please.
Yeah. Shashwat, first slide. So I welcome you all on behalf of Indrashil University. Just to introduce about the Indrashil University and what we are doing at our university, let me give you a brief profile. So the source of inspiration behind establishing this university is Shri Indravadan Bhai A. Modi, who was the founder chairman of Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited, which is one of the largest privately held pharmaceutical company of our country. Shri Indravadan Bhai Modi is a truly, you can say, a nationalist person. Besides being a noble and a modest person, he believed that medicine should be affordable and should reach the last man of the society. And still, this care is being continued at Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited. So, Indrashil University was established as a philanthropic initiative of its founding chancellor, our beloved Dr. Rajiv I. Modi, in loving memory of his parents, Shri Indravadan Bhai Ambalal Modi and Srimati Sheelaben Modi, who laid this foundation stone of Cadila Pharmaceuticals in 1951, and from whose names the name of our university has been named. So, if we see to the success story of Shri Indravadan Bhai Modi and Cadila Pharmaceuticals, initially when it was initiated in 1951, it was established in very small room in Hasot village in Bharuch district of Gujarat. And you know, Shri Indravadan Bhai Modi used to move around in the initial days on his bicycle, riding for about 30 to 40 kilometers per day, marketing and selling his products. Srimati Sheelaben Modi was the first employee of Kerala Pharmaceuticals Limited. So, to honor the legacy of care and compassion, the governing body of our university and Dr. Rajiv Modi are determined to transform this university into a hallmark of global academic excellence. And that is why we excel, we lay equal emphasis on both academics as well as research, as Shri Indravadan Bhai Modi believed that it is research and innovation which would create a benchmark in the Indian education system. Next slide, please. So if we see to the milestones of our success of our university, as I have said, it was established in 1951, previous one, as one of the largest privately held pharmaceutical company of our country. It has over 10,000 employees and its presence is felt in 90 different countries. So in 2016, Cadila Pharmaceuticals took up an education initiative of establishing Sri Saraswati Education Foundation. But it was in 2018 that Indrashil University was established as the first life sciences university of our country. And seeing to the success of our university, both in terms of academics, in terms of research, Niti Aayog, Government of India, has supported us with Atal Incubation Center with a flagship program to encourage youth of our country to initiate startups and become future entrepreneurs of our country. And within the same year, Government of Gujarat has supported us with Indrashil Innovation Foundation with its program, Student Startup and Innovation Policy, as we call as SSIP, solely funded by the Government of Gujarat. So we have these two platforms for young entrepreneurs of our state, that is Atal Incubation Center and Indrashil Innovative Foundation, supported by Government of India as well as Government of Gujarat. Next slide. As I always say, the success of any institute depends on the leader who guides that institute. So as our mentor, we have Dr. J.S. Yadav, one of the best non-organic chemists of our country. He is the provost of our university. He is the director of our university. He had been the former director of Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, a CSIR laboratory at Hyderabad. He has won several highest level awards in science. To name a few, Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Fellow, J.C. Bose Fellows, with a rich credentials, research credentials, you can say, plus 150 patents, plus 1400 publications, more than 250 PhD students. Still we have 11 to 12 students working for their PhD with him, and about 30,000 citations. Next slide, please. Next slide. So what we offer at Indrashil University is academic excellence. As I've already said, we excel both and we lay equal emphasis both on academics, both on teaching as well as in research. Academic excellence is also provided in terms of an extraordinary, you can say, faculty that Indrashil University has. All of them are PhDs from premier national institutes. Over and above this, they are all postdocs from 2 or 3 different countries who have worked under various international scientists of repute as well as with Nobel laureates. As you know, one of the major objectives is to make the students industrial. By Cadila Pharmaceuticals, we provide enough of industrial exposure in terms of industrial internship as well as placements, overall development of the students in terms of curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular activities, and we are trying to achieve global education standards. Next slide. So at Indrashil University, we have School of Engineering as well as School of Science. School of Engineering offers BTech in Computer Science and Engineering, Mechanical Engineering, Chemical and Biochemical Engineering. School of Science offers BSc Honours in Chemistry and Biosciences, the first university in Gujarat to offer honour degree at an undergraduate level. MSc in Chemistry, MSc in Animal Biology, MSc in Microbiology as well as PhD in both the programs. Over and above this, we have international collaborations with Sacred Heart University, USA, Tuskegee University, USA, Newcastle University, Australia, where the students can avail dual degrees, 3 years at our university, 1 year at their university, and they would be awarded with a dual degree, both from Indrashil as well as from foreign universities. Next slide, please. This program which has gained wide popularity among the students and parents of Gujarat. So needless to say, as our university is mentored by Dr. J.S. Yadav, we have extremely, you can say, highly sophisticated state-of-the-art infrastructure facilities with all the high throughput scientific equipments, GCMS, HPLC, FTIR, IR, etc. But recently what we have procured is nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, first university in Gujarat to have NMR, and which is made available to both PG students as well as research scholars and faculty. As you very well know, the cost itself is 4.5 to 5 crores. So our university, having a very well established management and a very well-to-do management, is well-to-do in procuring these high throughput scientific equipments. The services are made available to researchers of Gujarat, to faculty of Gujarat, to scientists of Gujarat. Next slide, please. So as we are linked to Cadila Pharmaceuticals, we have MOU linkages with several industries. To name a few, Cadila Pharmaceuticals Karnavati Engineering, National Chemical Laboratory Pune, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology Hyderabad, CSMCRI at Bhavnagar, Ratnaman Industries, TASAC Consultancy Services, etc. Next slide. As has already been said, we provide a platform for startups and entrepreneurship with Atal Incubation Center as well as Indrashil Innovative Foundation, supported by Government of India and supported by Government of Gujarat. Next slide, please. So for both these platforms, we provide young researchers with innovative ideas to the world-class R&D laboratories that we have, dedicated office and a laboratory space. We provide 50 lakh as kickstart support, 2 crores as seed fund support. We provide handholding by renowned mentors, which are from industries, government departments, various private as well as government agencies, and R&D laboratories, and the overall support if they want to take up the startup to a sustainable business. Next slide, please. So if any of these students require any more information, they can visit our website at indrashiluniversity.edu.in. They can contact the person concerned at admission@indrashiluniversity.edu.in or the person concerned at 6359102727. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for introducing our university so well. We can see Yadav sir is online now. We would like to ask Yadav sir to say a few words and opening this ceremony formally.
Paloni, you go ahead. I told at schedule.
Okay.
Connectivity is not very good, so it may get disconnected in between, so it doesn't look good. But anyway, where is Rakeshwar?
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you, Rakeshwar?
Doing good, sir. So I heard that some medical exigency is there. Hope everything is fine.
Right.
With your family.
From here, connection is very poor. Sometimes going that is. So that's they will take. Of course, I make connection there. I will watch. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So one, I thank you that you accepted giving the lecture. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. We also can see Abhinand sir is here online. Sir, few words, please.
Yeah, good morning to you all. Without wasting time, we should go ahead because it is our privilege and honor to have Dr. Rakeshwar here with us at Indrashil University, and most of the kids should be able to have a lot of knowledge from such a stalwart in chemistry at our help. It would have been better that we could have had sir here at the campus and we would have been able to interact with kids. That would have brought a lot of knowledge and wisdom which sir carries to all the kids here, the budding kids. And I would also like to thank Guj Coast Director Narottam Sahu and Dr. Harit Shukla, who have given us this grant for organizing webinars. Thank you all. And thank you, sir, for sparing your time to hear and enrich our knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhinand sir. We will go to Dr. Haren Gosai, who will introduce the Guj Coast webinar series formally. Haren sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Polmi, and I would like to thank Indrashil University for giving me the opportunity to speak about this very useful Guj Coast webinar series. The webinar series opportunities in chemistry and biological science for indigenization in India, which is a very relevant and important in today's context, wherein our honorary PM, Shri Narendra Bhai Modi, has appealed to all of us to create an Atmanirbhar Bharat. So there is an increasing need to become self-reliant in all sectors, and we scientists should realize our responsibilities toward a society and strive to convert our research ideas into application, which could generate more and more employment. So learning objective of this webinar series is to create an awareness among students and young scientists about the opportunities present in chemical as well as in the biological sciences and its future scope. So it is expected that the webinars given by the eminent scientists will also be very helpful to get guidance on how to set up collaboration with industry as well as with the other academic institute, and have an interdisciplinary approach which will help to learn importance of creative work environment wherein innovative ideas are always welcome. So one of the main idea or one of the main aim of this webinar series is the students and scientists, they should learn how to convert their ideas to proof of concept and finally use it for commercialization and make product that can be launched in the market. Most importantly, it is expected that this webinar series will instigate and ignite interest in setting up startups as well as motivate the audience to take their research a step forward towards building up new innovative technology and to be a job giver rather than job seeker in future. So in this context, this webinar series will have webinars by most eminent scientists who have also accomplished themselves as entrepreneur, and they will guide us about the startup opportunity present in India and inspire us by serving as a role model. So we are very fortunate to have Dr. Rakeshwar as the speaker of today's webinar series, as he is a live inspiration. So how a scientist can lead a renowned pharmaceuticals. So thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation. And I'm really very eager to hear your talk and learn a lot from it. So thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Haran sir. We are just one step away from the main program, like main event of this program. We would like to start with Rakeshwar sir's speech, but before that, we will introduce him formally by our Dean, School of Engineering, Dr. Amish Vyas. Sir, please.
Thank you, Paulomi, and very good morning to one and all the panelists and participants and attendees. So we are lucky enough to have Dr. Rakeshwar over here, who is a director and senior principal scientist at API R&D Process Chemistry Innovation Plaza IPDO, Dr. Reddy's Laboratory, Hyderabad. He has completed his PhD in chemistry from CDRI and University of Lucknow and postdoctorate from University of Regensburg and Roy and Dinah Vagelos Laboratories for Advanced Science and Technology, University of Pennsylvania. Sir is having more than 20 years of experience, and previously he has chaired so many positions. He was appointed as postdoctoral research associate at Department of Chemistry, Texas A&M University, director and head at Center of Excellence in Chemistry and functional expert in chemistry at API R&D Innovation Plaza IPDO, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Sir has more than 80 papers, including patents and book chapters, published, accepted in various international journals by the very renowned publishers. This is not enough. Sir has also won the various awards, just to name a few. Chairman Excellence Award in the category of Individual Functional Excellence, Best Cost Leadership Award for the development of Lopinavir, Ritonavir and their components, and also Anveshan Award at Dr. Reddy's. As a part of organizational building efforts, he also supervises masters and PhD students in their dissertations. This is a very rare combination that even in the industry, he is guiding masters and PhD students. Also, he has been invited to chair at several conferences like at IIT Mumbai rather, IGCW 2009, BIT Ranchi, BITS Pilani, 9th Heterocyclic Conference, University of Florida, JNTU Hyderabad, Apollo Hospitals Educational and Research Foundation Hyderabad, where he has delivered number of lectures. He is also currently acting as an associate editor of GERF Bulletin of Bioscience. Sir, we are lucky enough to have you over here, and we wish that students and participants will definitely gain more and will expect much more from you. So over to you, Paulomi, and wish a very grand success to this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We will start with Dr. Bandichor's lecture. But before that, the rules of the webinar. The questions are to be put in the Q&A section, that is right down in the panel of your screen. And there is feedback link, which I will post at the end of the talk so that you don't go away from the talk. You have to listen to the entire talk. Once you fill out the feedback link, you will receive e-certificates in your mailbox. So Rakesh sir, the floor is all yours. Please start with your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Paulomi. I would like to thank Dr. Amish for kind introduction, and thank you, Dr. Nidhi and Dr. J. Yadav for coming up to inviting me to give a talk on synthetic strategies for APIs. So can we go ahead? Yes. So,
yes, sir.
So I'm going to talk about synthetic strategies for APIs. And, basically, everybody knows what is API, right? It's active pharmaceutical ingredient. And this is basically gets into the formulation to have a drug product. And after packaging, patients used to buy from the market based on the doctor's prescription. So this is pretty much known, I hope, to everyone. So I'm going to talk about what are these, synthetic ways to make these APIs in R&D as well as in manufacturing setup, and what are the required engineering interventions to make processes quite robust and greener. Okay, so there is a website from Dr. Reddy's. If somebody wants to know what is green chemistry, how it plays important role in industry, all kind of things can be found here in this link. As well as there is a my interview that has been published in Nature Medicine about finding right chemistry, along with some of the scientific leaders. Caveat, whatever I am being presented, quite confidential. However, nothing is being included which has IP and commercial value. Content is either published or patented. So, in 2019, how many medicines got approved? And out of that, the chiral medicines as well as achiral, they constitute almost 1-to-1. And there is some good are being approved in terms of new biological entities. And they are also being positioned as plastic therapeutic agents. And if you look at the number of small molecules, which are quite significant, either they are chiral or achiral. So we should talk about how to make those small molecules. However, biologics are also gaining significance nowadays. These are the number of molecules, around 41 molecules that have been. In order to do chiral manipulation, how many ways are there which can be utilized to make life-saving medicines? To start with, I think resolution we always talk about, and somehow it is also being classified as a notorious way of doing chiral synthesis, because half of the enantiomers, they go waste unless we are able to recycle. So let's assume we have a method where nothing is going to go waste. Everything is being recycled back in a cost-effective manner. There is nothing better than resolution. But that's the ideal situation. It's not that in every case this can be practiced. So let's assume we have to deal with certain synthesis with resolution. So what are the classical ways? What are the classical resolving agents that we use? Or methods that we can employ? One is making diastereomeric salt, and other one is work on dynamic kinetic resolution, where we can play with the kinetics of racemization of unwanted isomer in the racemate and continue your resolution, right? And that happens in one pot. Other thing is, can we use enzyme which can selectively protect or deprotect in terms of making one enantiomer available over other, right? In the section of biocatalysis, which is nothing but a use of enzyme, we can further understand classical way of doing enzymatic resolution. Another one is enzyme catalyzed dynamic kinetic resolution. Right? The second way is we can use chiral auxiliary as a sacrificial chiral auxiliary. Second one is recoverable chiral auxiliary, and that can be envisioned to have a number of chiral pools. Right, chiral pools are a natural source of material which has chiral center already fixed. If you can make a salt or make a covalent bond with your racemic material, you can create a diastereomeric relationship. Thereby, you can have an access of one of the enantiomers. Third one is organometallics. And we have a metal ligand catalyzed transformations, where ligand can give you a asymmetric combination with metal, which can bind with the substrates and does the job in terms of getting enantioselective synthesis, right? And that can be done even in solid supported system. And another dimension is coming up, continuous mode of doing organometallic chemistry, where metal and ligand is being used as a catalyst to do an selective transformation, the way we used to do in batch mode. And fourth methodology is organocatalysis, where you can take a substrate and have a bond formation with the organocatalyst in such a way, once the transformation is over, this organocatalyst comes back and binds with another molecule of substrate and gives you the product. In that way, organocatalysis is happen to be truly catalytic. That can also be done in on solid supportive, and it can be done in batch mode as well as it can be done in continuous mode. The fifth one is, which is quite good, is biocatalysis, which is, and where the enzymes can be derived through directed evolution technology, and depending on the substrate shape and size, you can decorate the enzymes to get a high degree of enantioselectivity. Second one is desymmetrization, where certain enzymes are found to desymmetrize the substrate to get a near stereospecific transformation to get an selective product. So these are the chiral manipulation methods known in the literature, but being an industry or academic scientist, we can exploit one of these or more than one to make your products in a selective manner. We will discuss about the chiral resolution. So here, this is the synthesis of this is the synthesis of urokine receptor inhibitor. And if you look at the step one, which is in 90%, and then there is a cyclization step by using acetic acid in toluene at 55 degrees Celsius to get the racemic system, right? You can see this 89% yield here, right? Which is your lactone system. So there is one center which is chiral, but it's racemic, right? So if you do the reduction, so what happens here? We get anti-isomer in 88%, and there is a 96% purity. So what happens is it's a kind of a hemi-ketal which can open and close, and the opened form is there as less than 0.1%. Moving forward, here once we couple this advanced intermediate with the benzylic bromo derivative, you create a diastereomeric relationship. Right? That diastereomeric relationship helps us to resolve one of the diastereomers. And after that, you can mix, make a salt of that, and you get a chirally pure material. So this is CSA salt, which is diastereomeric salt. But if you look at the active component, which is chirally pure, right? So this way of looking at synthesis helps us to shorten the synthesis and make it cost effective and stable. We tinted it. After that, we there is another API which is ritonavir, which is anti-HIV molecule. Some other anti-HIV molecules as a cocktail. Now this is the best therapy available for patients. So if you refer the literature synthesis, that involves a lot of protection. What we thought, can we have minimal protection, which is required for downstream processing, and have have a synthesis which is cost effective, if not, but it's a cost competitive. So what we did, we have taken the aldehyde equivalent of amino acid, and we have a nitro derivative. And what we thought of doing nitroaldol chemistry here. And once we have a nitroaldol product, we thought of reducing the nitrobuamine. And this is the most, I would say, decorated advanced intermediate that is being used in ritonavir and lopinavir synthesis. So here it is a classical aldol type chemistry. You can make use of C2-symmetric ligand in presence of copper acetate, and you can understand what would be your state. And once we did this chemistry, what we found out, reaction selectivity. So we
Excuse me, sir. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there is a bit network problem from your side. Sometimes the voice is breaking. Can we do something about it?
I don't know, but or it is
Sir, are you using a Bluetooth speaker?
No, I'm not using Bluetooth.
Okay.
I'm just wearing a headphone.
Okay.
I should not get the noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Let's
Sure.
continue. Let's try our level best. Okay?
Yes, please, sir.
So we had a biometallic system with binol system where lanthanum and lithium have been used, and this is a reported chemistry, but that has not been tried on nitroaldol. So we got higher diastereomeric selectivity, but it's a highly moisture sensitive reaction. So therefore, we decided to stay back with the C2-symmetric based nitroaldol chemistry, where our diastereomeric selectivity was 60 to 29 to 4 to 5. Diastereomeric selectivity is not that great, but the part is we read entire synthetic sequence. And fortunately, once we are done with the chemistry, what we got 40% yield and 98% purity with respect to required, enantiomerically pure diastereomers. So that was good, because you can just do the your diastereomeric selective transformation, have a carbon-carbon bond formation. Thereafter, you can reduce it and make succinate acid salt. And if you get almost nearly each and every part of your required diastereomer is getting crystallized, so this becomes quite a good process for us. But we were not happy because the diastereomeric selectivity was not that great. So did, we had an advanced intermediate while making the corresponding aldehyde in the previous synthesis. A trial that we have. So what we did hydrolysis to get the acid derivative, and then we did acylation by using this nitro derivative to get the advanced intermediate nitropketone. And now you can see this nitropketone are stereoselective dynamic reductions, right? Because this proton is quite acidic. This can equilibrate with the ketone present in the neighboring carbon, right? So we can take advantage of the kinetics and reduce one of the diastereomer over other, and shift the equilibrium in such a way that you get the right compound. Once we get the nitro-aldol product after reduction of the stereoselective reduction, we can go for nitro-to-amine reduction. And this was fantastic, and we have a patent, and I will tell you how did we do that. First we tried organometallic approach, where we got good conversion, but the selectivity. We switched our attention to the screen number of enzymes, and we found one of the enzymes that was quite effective in doing stereoselective dynamic kinetic reduction. And look at the distereoselectivity, and yield was quite great. This enzyme was based on the directed evolution technology. So this process is there with us. Whenever we want, we can just optimize and scale it up. We have deprioritized this API, but whenever this API comes in the in active mode, this process can be taken from. The other thing is chiral auxiliary approach. So this is Januvia. It is a blockbuster antidiabetic. There are a number of syntheses reported. There are 3 syntheses that have been based on asymmetric hydrogen. Other one is also first one is ruthenium, second one is rhodium based catalyst, and more or less same chemistry that they have done. But rhodium and ruthenium, they are exotic metals. They are not abundantly available in the nature. They are kind of becoming endangered. So they have come up with another synthesis which is based on biocatalysis. So they did good job, and they got 99.9% E, but this is not open to each and every generic industry. You have to have your own synthesis. So what we started looking at, how we can have a synthesis which can be cost competitive, if not cost effective. So we started looking at simple system where you can take this pro-sitagliptin 2 and install the chiral auxiliary, which is nothing but phenethylamine, right? And make a complex of sodium borohydride and 2 equivalent of sodium borohydride and 6 equivalent of methane sulfuric acid. And the trick was, can we quench 3 borohydride, leaving behind 1 hydride on the boron, and allow boron to sit down across the nitrogen and amide carbonyl and have a 6-member transition state, so that hydride delivery can come from the bottom and you get the alpha amino group installed at this carbon, at the chiral center. So that was the idea. So we started doing this, and interestingly, what we found out in DFT calculation, this fluorine, which is at 6, which is as I tell you from this benzylic proton 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th position. Fluorine, which is, you can say, at the fluorine has a hydrogen bonding with the chiral auxiliary benzylic proton. That has given extra assistance in terms of locking the conformation, and that has given high diastereoselectivity. And then, since it is diastereomers, we can clean the unwanted diastereomer from the reaction system. But when you do energy selective transformation, unless you make a diastereomeric salt, you cannot clean up the unwanted enantiomer. The advantage of our synthesis is you can you can clean away your unwanted isomer because it's diastereomer, right? And when we did this chemistry, it was found to be cost competitive in comparison to the Merck most advanced synthesis, which is based on biocatalysis. This is how we did the chemistry. 3 means is a pro-sitagliptin having ketoamide, and we just condensed it with phenethylamine in acetic acid. And as I said, we tried number of reductants, and what worked? Sodium. We got 92 to, and after palladium charcoal, knock off this group, and we got the free base of sitagliptin. So that's how we achieved the synthesis. We publish in organic letters, and the supporting information is loaded with commercial inputs of these substrates. Third one is organometallic, where metal ligand approach in synthesis of naproxen. Quite efficient because you can put each and every raw material in the reactor, do the reaction, and get the product. The number of chemistry that happens in one go is Tarzan based chemistry, which has number of steps. So if you start losing at least 2 to 3% in each and every chemical conversion, although it is there in the reactor, still there is a inefficiency inbuilt. However, the process that we have in industry today considered to be the most effective. There is a quest: can we have very shorter synthesis where an selectivity can be installed in a different way towards having cost-effective shorter synthesis? So we started looking at nitroolefin and thought of using Grignard addition in an selective fashion. So first we had a guide, and we did reaction, and that was quite good. And then we started looking at how we can develop prototype synthetic protocol. Then we use this methyl magnesium chloride, toluene, ammonium chloride, and water. So we added methyl group. And after that, we can just simply make use of this methyl to methyl group to convert this into the carboxylic acid group. So in order to have this enantiomer selective addition, there are so many ways you can make use of C2, this BINAP, and then Josephus. So when we started doing this chemistry, we were getting decent yield, but the enantiomer selectivity was not. We started looking at the role of solvent, and when we used MTBE, so we start seeing some drift. That was a good sign. Then, considering fundamentals, we started looking at the size of incoming Grignard reagent. The R2 group can be small, medium, and big. We studied it, and then what we found, if you increase the size of R2 group in the form of Grignard, the selectivity. So we opened a kind of a new way of doing enantiomer selective transformation by using bulkier solvents as well as bulkier incoming 1,4 fashion at 1,4 fashion addition of nucleophile onto the nitroolefin. And the yield was not that bad. If you look at the last entry, the selectivity was 4 to 96. And there is another one, 98.5 to. So then we derived the mechanism and catalytic, but a kind of a cycle where you can think of the product formation. If you see the Josephus, it was a near catalyst. Less, more than 20 mole percent is not. This is the first entry in the literature where somebody has found out that krypton can be added in 1,4 fashion on nitroolefin. And unfortunately, we did not get the naproxen with good selectivity, but we have demonstrated that the tertiary butyl kryptonate can be added on nitroolefin in quite good NMC selective manner. So we have patent and publication. So since we did not get right selectivity, what do we do? We did not stop there. We started looking at, can we have a nucleic acid derivative where there is a acquired aromatic system can be screening number of enzymatic system. What we found out is the NER-A, which comes from bacterium, and Zen-A from Pseudomonas ftida, and your flavin mononucleotide works as a prosthetic group, and collaborated with the University of Manchester and designed a biocatalytic transformation where we got 95% yield and 99% yield from the ANN5. This is amazing. So we had number of entries, and we so in pharmaceutical industry, not only in discovery, in generic industry, if you take complex molecules, there's a 19. So good news is Dr. Reddy's has been successful to make this molecule in more than gram quantities, and we have aimed to reduce the number of steps from 60. In order to, there is one critical reaction involved, which is called NHK reaction, where the selectivity, diester selectivity was not. We started looking at designing the new ligand. So if you look at the ligand that has been used in-house, the diester selectivity was 85. What we did, we started changing the bulkiness of the group in the sulfonamide moiety. And once we start increasing the bulkiness of the R3 group, or you can say the group which is at the hooked at the sulfonamide, we started seeing the higher degree of diester selectivity, and we understood the transition state. And now we have a newly designed ligand that keeps in the order of 98 to 2 diester selectivity. So that's how the fundamental chemistry helps to improve the process efficiency, and that is what any academician tries to do. And similar kind of things can be done in industrial setup. Another process-driven chemistry where organometallic approach has been employed in this commerce is known, but what we did, we did everything in one pot, except the intermediates that have been isolated. And you see, the atom economy has been great. It is now 23.78, but economy of the reported processes is very poor. E factor of the reported process is in the order of 200. In our case, it is 87. And we improved the process from 35 to 47%. So this is the great achievement, and we have done this chemistry at 80 kg scale. This has been published in OPID and also been highlighted in SynFact. So this is the stereo specific where you can use triethylsilane. Based on the hindered and favored site, you can get your advanced intermediate, commercial grade, high quality APIs, and particularly in this case we got excellent I would say process efficiency. So not only we do organometallic chemistry in flow, so that is also example in the synthesis of. We have a miniaturized version of flow in the lab, and then we have a machine, these flow reactors, where you can design your experiment and make the processes safe, intensify the process in such a way that you get your reactions done in a fraction of minutes, rather I would say seconds, in comparison to the batch board that takes hours. So there is still a certain degree of, for example, you do something in lab, but when you do it a higher scale, then you have to kind of can we do same flow chemistry in three reactors, three flow reactors, by understanding the effect of mixing, flow rate, and the volume that you deal with. So once we really we get excellent outcome in comparison to the batch mode operations that we did. Our rig that has been installed in the plant, now it is fully operational. There is no human intervention required. You can just have your lithium state, you can just start, and it's fully automated with the help of this is a more closer look where there is a pumps for the substrates, and there's a butyllithium pump. There is a plate and frame heat exchanger. And the batch process energy cost. This is per kg, but when you move from batch to continuous one, this is pretty much I wanted to talk about. I want to thank a number of workers and mentors who has contributed to these projects. And
Hello?
yeah, Dr. Palmi, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with the research that you have been doing in Dr. Reddy's lab. As the end users, we don't get to see all the hard works that the industries are doing in order to develop one drug or in order to modify one drug. I have one question for you. Some of the things were not understandable from our students, from the audience, because there was a network issue. So I want to ask you, do you have a message for the students who are pursuing BSc and MSc in organic chemistry, and they want to end up in pharmaceutical industry with a job? Do you have a message for them? How should they look? How should they build their career path?
So yeah, I have a message for the students and whoever wants to pursue their career in industry. They should be deep diving in their fundamentals. And I tell you, if you have strong fundamentals in odd hours in industrial setup, that helps you quite effectively. And this point number one. Second thing is, whatever they are doing, if they understand the application part, right? If they don't understand the science that they study has its applications somewhere to impact the lives of the people, right? There is a social relevance of their knowledge, and somebody has to tell them. Either they should come to know through lectures or faculty members to talk about it. Let's assume you are teaching Grignard reaction. You finish your syllabus, but at least you take one example of telling them where this chemistry is being used in terms of manufacturing life-saving medicines. If you are a biocatalysis, biotechnology faculty, take one enzyme when you are talking about biocatalysis and exemplify the application of that biocatalyst in the production of life-saving medicines. So in that way, these students will understand the chemistry or chemical sciences per se or biological sciences per se have application in producing medicines, and once the medicines are available in a cost-effective manner at the medical stores, the underprivileged society or people can go and buy for treating their diseases. Such kind of things can be taught, and students will feel connected with the social problems, and they will be motivated all the time.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question from you from Nagavam Shidhar. He's asking, is flow chemistry successful in APIs in large scale?
Yeah, this is basically for large scale, because what happens, it's the interplay of surface area. Because if it is in solution and the reactor is having very narrow, right? So you are dealing with small amount of solution where the surface area is very high, and your reaction rate will be much higher than the batch mode. At the same time, when you are doing reaction in the batch reactor, you make a product in first hour, and your entire reaction takes for 20 hours. The product that has been formed in first hour will experience the reaction conditions for next 19 hours, right? While your reaction is progressing and giving a product, but your product which has been formed at the first stage will also experience a lot of mechanical energy, right? And that starts giving you byproducts. So if you do chemistry in flow, you don't have to have high residence time, because your reaction happens in the capillary and it's a moving system. It's a flow. The reaction mixture is flowing, and you get your product out in a fraction of a second, right? So you can avoid the impurity formation. You can have better control of kinetics by virtue of high surface area. And the most important thing, there will not be any safety concern, because when you do the reaction in the reactor, because of pressure buildup, because of exothermicity, the reactor can get blown away. You might have seen a lot of industrial accidents, but here you're dealing with a couple of mLs in a given point of time. So it is quite safe, robust, and less space intensive, and you can do whatever you want in a very limited space. You don't have to have big industrial setup. So it's pretty much doable, and people are doing it, and we started doing it.
Thank you, sir. I think we will take one last question, sir. I think many people would like to know about it. So Hina Mania, she is asking, what can we do to overcome the issues of bioavailability of drug or active pharmaceutical ingredients?
So see, bioavailability of drug depends on a couple of factors. One is, what are the, features of the medicines and excipients, because the medicine is API, which is mixed with excipients to make a formulation like tablets, capsules, injections. Injection doesn't have excipients, it might have some stabilizers. And syrups have API and some solvent to dissolve it, right? So particularly bioavailability comes when you have oral doses, right? So in oral doses, how fast your API comes out from the tablet, and your Cmax should be such that you get the medicine concentration in your blood for close to 2 to 2.5 hours, and there is a clearance starts, right? So there is a study which is done to establish the your bioavailability, and one has to conduct that to understand the I would say the suitability of excipients in terms of formulating a particular drug so that you should have a perfect bioavailability in your biological system. Here, you can't just simply tell how to increase unless you know the structure of the API and unless you know the set of excipients that you're going to use. Then we can help how to improve the bioavailability.
Okay, sir. Thank you for clearly explaining all the questions that the students and the audiences had. We will now move to Dr. J. Prakash Reddy, who would like to formally conclude your talk. Prakash sir, please.
Yeah, so am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Because there is a bit of internet network issue, so I was wondering whether this is going to be again kind of not audible to people. So thank you, Dr. Polami, and good afternoon to everyone. So in this Guj Coast webinar series, today we have witnessed one more memorable talk from renowned scientist, Dr. Rakeshwar from Reddy's Lab, Hyderabad. We talked about mainly for the students especially, though we teach from a basic point of view, the science and a bit of industry, but mostly our way of delivering knowledge to the students is always different than when a person from industry really talk to the students. So we as teachers mostly teach students from fundamental or basic point of view, but your talk is really a perfect concoction for the students, and especially like all of us listening in this webinar. I'm sure many synthetic pathways that you have talked about will be both challenging and very interesting in terms of viability, like cost, growth of industry, eco-friendly from the environmental perspective, and so many other aspects. I'm sure with your inspirational speech, we as young researchers, research scholars, students listening to this lecture, understand the need to study drugs and drug development new pathways to do creative science. So you also explicitly mentioned the need to do different reaction pathways from diverse perspective. I'm sure all the participants of this lecture are immensely benefited, and your talk would have refreshed all our knowledge, especially from the industry point of view. So on behalf of the participants of the webinar, I thank you for your valuable time and delivering an inspirational talk. So we look forward again hearing from you soon. So thank you very much, sir.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Once again, we will move to Nidhi ma'am, who is the coordinator of this webinar series. She would formally deliver the vote of thanks. Nidhi ma'am, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, first of all, for accepting our invitation. And it was really a learning experience for us to hear about the synthetic strategies which are employed for this production of APIs. And sir, I had just one personal question also to ask. Like, what is the best molecule which you feel proud of, like the best API product which you feel that which is close to your heart, which you have developed in the industry?
So this Januvia, when I came back from US, yes. So I was given a challenge to come up with a new synthetic fruit. And I know in India, 75 to 80% people are either pro-diabetic or diabetic. Okay. And Januvia was becoming a blockbuster on those days, but it was not generic at that point of time.
Yes, sir.
you can make this API by following the innovator's route. Being a part of generic industry, we had to make it and fast track the development. So we started looking at how to do some kind of a innovative intervention so that we can get our own intellectual property, means patents. And that will help us to put the product in the, at least in India market. And wherever possible, we can launch it across the world. So we designed the process, we designed the chemistry, we did work in the lab, and everything started working well. And when the when our chemistry went to manufacturing, it got scaled up. That was high degree of satisfaction, because basic fundamental understanding of chemistry, how to have a high diastereoselective transformation, that we get taught by our professors in MSc classes, right? Same transformation has been used. Same fundamentals, I would rather say, has been used to get a diastereoselective intermediate that has been transformed into the life-saving medicines. So there is no greater satisfaction than such kind of scientific intervention to make medicines, which is going to be cost-effective and available for the poor peoples, right? So that has given me a high level of satisfaction.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the query. And I want to formally thank you for giving your precious time for this webinar. And we are really very grateful for that. And your lecture was really a learning experience for us. And we got to learn a lot about how industries tackles problem in drug discoveries using different synthetic strategies and launch pharmaceutical products on large scale so that it can reach to the poorest of the society. I also want to thank Gujkos for funding this very useful webinar series, because of which we are able to hear inspirational webinars by most eminent and accomplished scientists. I also want to thank our Provost, Dr. J.S. Yadav, and our Dean, School of Science, Bharti ma'am, for proposing this beautiful idea for conducting the webinar series based on the theme of indigenization, so that audience learn more about the opportunities in chemical and biological science and strive to be a job giver rather than job seeker in future. I also want to thank other coordinators, Dr. Paulomi and Dr. Hiral, for managing the event so well. And I would like to thank all panelists, Amish Vyas sir, Abhinand sir, Dr. Prakash, Haren, for the constant help and support they always give. A special thanks to Mr. Shashwat and Mr. Anuj for the excellent technical support. And finally, I thank audiences for attending the webinar. And thank you again, sir, for giving your valuable time.
Thank you. One more thing to the attendees, the feedback link is given in the chat. So before we close the webinar, please click on it. Otherwise the link will be lost. Please click on the feedback link, fill it out, and you will get the certificate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, can I log off then now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Welcome. Thank you so much.